I'm not sure just how much of a talent DeMarcus Cousins truly is. Boogie, just one of 7 in NBA history to average at least 25 points, 12 boards, and 5 assists during a single season. When Cousins tore his Achilles, he was 8th in the league in scoring, 3rd in rebounding, and 21st in assists. Well, let's bring in now Greg Anthony and Billy King for more on this. And guys, prior to suffering a torn Achilles back in late January, the argument could be made that Cousins was actually having a better season at that time than Anthony Davis, who went on to finish 3rd in the MVP voting, right? So how did a 6-time All-Star, Billy, how did he fall into the Warriors' lap?
Well, it became the place, that was the only place he had options for because other teams had spent their money, and he really didn't get off from New Orleans. I think a lot of people were worried about his Achilles. And so teams that didn't have cap space, the non-playoff teams, they weren't going to spend it on him and give him a long-term deal. A lot of other teams spent their mid-level. They were playoff teams. This is one of the options. There were a few teams out there that had this amount of money. So he looked at it and said, if I'm going to play for that amount of money, I'm going to go play for the best team.
Well, GA, in 8 seasons in the league, Cousins has put up a whole bunch of numbers. There's no question about that. But he's also been right in the center of a lot of controversy during his time in the league, everything from coaches to referees to getting into it with media members. How much can a season with the Warriors on and off the court kind of change all of that?
I think that's a great question, and I think it will help the maturation process. I think their locker room and their culture is strong enough to have him conform. And I think also the fact that he's going to have to rehab, in essence, the better part of the first half of the season, you would expect is going to allow him a chance to do some kind of self-assessment and figuring out, okay, what kind of player do I want to be? Because he's going to get to see what a championship looks like firsthand, not just aspiring to be one. So I think it's a win-win for both. And I will also say this, too, like from a money standpoint, the Achilles meant he wasn't getting a max deal.
Right.
So there are teams out there that have money. He could have gotten more money than he got, but he wasn't going to get, to Billy's point, a long-term deal. And, again, why not go somewhere where I don't have the pressure to have to get back out on the court? They're basically, they could be potentially paying him just to rehab, get right, and it's also an opportunity for them to audition for him if they do want to sign a long-term deal. Because remember, Kevin Durant did do a 1-and-1.
Mm-hmm.
Draymond Green's going to be up a year from now. Yep. Klay Thompson's going to be up. So you don't really know what this Warriors dynasty is going to look like a season from now. This gives them an opportunity to kind of revamp on the fly if some of those guys ultimately end up taking more lucrative deals elsewhere.
That's a nice insurance policy to have.
It's a nice one.
Guys, Mark Spears from The Undefeated tweeting on Monday night, telling DeMarcus Cousins told Spears that Cousins is shooting to return for training camp. Now, I'm not very good at math, but I think that would put him about 7 months after tearing his Achilles. You've had this injury. Is that at all realistic that Cousins thinks he can be back by training camp?
Well, it's not realistic if he wants to have a long NBA career after he rehabs on this because it's going to take time. And I think the Golden State Warriors are going to make sure he takes time because you don't want him to come back too soon and not be ready. They need him really for March, April, and deep into the playoffs. So they're going to be very patient with him and let him really recover nicely. Because the biggest thing with this surgery, once it's sutured back together, you've got to stretch it back out. You've got to strengthen that, that Achilles and that heel up. And so it takes time. When I did it in May, and I was jogging on a treadmill by October, but I wasn't an NBA player. I was just trying to get to the point where I could walk without a limp. He's going to be out there where he's running and competing. So the great thing for him is to be able to get back on the court and wants to be able to practice 5-on-5 and get in that situation before he has to go in a game. So if he's back before February, maybe even after All-Star break, that would be a great bonus for them.
All right. Well, still much more to come on all of the reaction from around the world. As everyone's stunned that Cousins is going to the Warriors, including, we'll tell you how Kevin Durant helped make the money work to get Boogie. Now on to a story that has been pushed somehow, some way from the headline to our number 2 story of the show, LeBron to the Lakers and an endorsement from Laker royalty.
He fully understands what this organization is about, and he's not afraid of that challenge. The beautiful thing about this organization is that there are a lot of jerseys hanging in the rafters that you can bounce ideas off of. You can be a sounding board for. Magic's done that for me. James Worthy's done that. Jerry Western's done that. Kareem's done that. And we all rally around each other. to try to help our organization be successful. So I think Brian certainly understands the pressure. He certainly understands the level of expectation, and he wants to get a championship back to the city of Los Angeles, and we're all here to help him do it.
Well, the Laker roster not complete just yet. Monday night, LA reportedly agreed to terms with Rajon Rondo. Last season, Rondo fourth in the NBA in assists, a huge reason the Pels returned to the playoffs and reached the second round of the postseason. So Rondo going and Randle leaving. The Lakers busy making the money work, renounced the rights to Julius Randle, making him an unrestricted free agent. Randle didn't waste any time, quickly getting a deal to play with Anthony Davis in New Orleans. So Rondo and Cousins out. Randle is in. So the Lakers roster around LeBron James starting to take shape. The new additions feature some big personalities and some guys who have shown that they prefer to play with the ball in their hand. And none of them really shoot the three ball particularly well. And during LeBron's eight straight trips to the NBA Finals, and he's had the likes guys of, think about it, Ray Allen, Shane Battier, Mike Miller, J.R. Smith, and Kyle Korver around him. What are your thoughts on who the Lakers have added, GA, here over the first 2 days of free agency?
Well, I think they've made really solid moves. Again, you got to keep perspective. He signed a 4-year deal, which when he signed a 4-year deal, that should tell everybody it's a process. I'm not expecting us to win it this year, but we're putting pieces in place that are going to allow us. Rondo's 1-year deal does two things. One, it gives them a guy who's been in the fire, who's won a world championship. It's going to help mentor some of those young players, and it also allows LeBron to have another facilitator out there. Plus, it's going to help Lonzo Ball's development, I think, as well, because he's another guy who has struggled with his shot but still has all the other facets. I just think overall they're going to be solid. I think they'll be a playoff team. But remember, I think their thoughts are still about how can we get another A-list guy? Yeah. Is it going to be free agency next year where they're going to have cap space, or is it going to be a potential trade during the course of this upcoming season? So the jury's still out on their roster. And on who they ultimately are going to be, but they now have become far more relevant than they were a couple days ago, and the Western Conference just got a lot stronger.
So they didn't land Paul George in free agency or DeMarcus Cousins. You mentioned possibly a trade. Well, Kawhi Leonard's still a member of the Spurs as of this moment. However, there are media reports say that Kawhi still has his sights on one day becoming a Laker. We heard the same thing, though, with Paul George.
Yeah, exactly.
But now that the Lakers do have LeBron on the roster, Billy, do you feel like they have more or less pressure to go out and make a very aggressive and appealing offer to the Spurs to complete a trade for Kawhi?
Well, I agree with Greg. There's no rush. You got LeBron James right now, and he committed for 4 years, so you're not in a rush to win this year. So you don't want to do a deal just to get Kawhi and give up a lot of pieces and be stuck with just LeBron and Kawhi. So I think they're going to be patient. They're not going to give up the farm to San Antonio. And they may know San Antonio really doesn't want to trade him there. And everybody keeps hearing reports he wants to play for the Lakers. He may want to play for the Clippers. He's from it's LA, and the Clippers are going to have room. So I think the Lakers right now are focused on putting guys around LeBron that can compete. They've got the young guys that can score. Kuzma and those guys, they make the Ingram can shoot it. But now they got some veteran guys. So if they are playing the Golden State Warriors, Lance Stevenson isn't going to back down. Rondo's not going to back down. So LeBron's got some guys that go in the trenches and battle with him. And that's really what they're doing to go along with the young guys. You can't win in this league with just young guys. So now they got some old guys to go with the young guys. So on certain nights, those young guys are going to have to give them the energy and keep it close so then the old guys can try to win it in the game.
Get your thoughts later on a team from the East that may want to make a push for Kawhi Leonard. Much more LeBron to the Lakers talk. Next, who will join LeBron and Luke Walton's starting five? And more reaction from the Warriors not being scared by the boogeyman. Plenty to get to, wrapping up day 2 of free agency 2018. Well, is Joel Embiid just appreciating the greatness of the Warriors? They're able to add a talent like DeMarcus Cousins. Well, when the news broke Monday night on Free Agent Fever here on NBA TV, our resident GM, David Griffin, put into context some polarizing comments made a couple years back by a Warriors owner to the New York Times Magazine.
They're going to be maybe the best team in the league without him.
Yep.
And the reality is they can wait until he's 100% and then unleash that on the rest of the league. They will have had no time to watch. Think about this. If he comes out and plays this first game, let's say March 1st, that makes Boogie Cousins for $5 million and all the tax money they're going to pay on that $5 million. Basically like their buyout acquisition. And you're going to watch that team play for a month and a half, you're not going to have any time to prepare for what it looks like, and then you have to adjust to it. I remember Joe Lacob made a comment once, and everybody bristled, called them light years ahead of the rest of the league. At this point, I think that might have been an understatement of what it was that they were cooking up at the time. It was foreshadowing, and we didn't know it. And now in hindsight, I understand it. They had designs on things nobody had ever thought about doing in the NBA. And what they've done now is they said, what's our Achilles heel? What's the one way people think they can beat us? And this is it.
Willing to do things others won't. Anthony Slater covers the Golden State Warriors for The Athletic. This had to be a shocker for you. Anthony, let's start with the fact that, the Warriors have grown some enemies, some venom over the last couple of years as their greatness has gotten better, adding Kevin Durant. What do you think the hate level or the venom level will be now around the NBA?
It's high. Just look at Twitter tonight, right? I mean, and it is a bargain for them. It gives them 5 All-Stars, which is pretty ridiculous. 5 guys in their prime, which I believe I saw a stat. This is the first time team will have 5 All-Stars from the previous season since 1975-76 Celtics. So the gathering of talent is unbelievable, but the hate for the Warriors is it rises a little bit, but I'm not sure it could have risen from the top level. It was already kind of at.
The planning and the vision that this front office has, not ever being satisfied with what they have in their current stable, but it also took some help from Kevin Durant. Can you break down for us exactly what happened with Durant's contract that helped make this Boogie contract possible?
Yeah, so the Warriors are so far in the tax that they didn't know if they were going to use their taxpayer mid-level exception this offseason, which is $5.3 million, because it was going to cost them about $22 million just to use it. And they needed to find a player that was worth it. But the fact that Kevin Durant, instead of taking a 2+1 or his full max, which would have started his salary at $35-ish million per year next year, actually he could only start it at $30 now. That $5 million in savings is really about 21 or so in tax savings, and they can basically shuttle that over to Cousins and not feel that financial hit as much. So again, like he did last year when he gave a bunch of money back to let them, get Iguodala and Livingston, he kind of did it again. This time I don't think it was as purposeful, but it saves the Warriors money, and it's another thing that the rest of the league is kind of not going to be too happy about.
Well, winning seems to be the cure-all, right? Guys come here and they conform to what the system is, but you're around this team on a daily basis. How does Cousins, with the reputation he has around the league, and how will others, with him putting up big numbers on the court and guys kind of balancing all out with who scores, who assists, who rebounds, how do you think this all gels together?
It's going to be very interesting. And, the thing that people, just because the name of DeMarcus Cousins has kind of throttled people, a lot of people don't remember he's coming off an Achilles tear. He's probably not going to be ready till December and January. And he's a 270-pound dude that has guard-type moves, switching moves on the perimeter that could be hard to play on a recovering Achilles tendon. So I don't know how good he's going to look, especially early on, knocking off some of that rust. He's never played with this much talent, because nobody really has ever played with this much talent. So he's a 25-point-per-game scorer in his career. What if he's only getting, 13, and, he's kind of more in the second unit, and then he's never played high-level playoff basketball? What about him in a Rockets series where, maybe Houston's trying to isolate him, and maybe the Warriors, instead of having him on the court, want Andre Iguodala for defensive purposes? How does he handle that type of stuff? It's all going to be very interesting, but at the same time, they have not had an offensive talent in the center spot at all. They had 4 combined threes from their 6 centers last year, and DeMarcus Cousins had 124 himself last year in 48 games. So it's potentially unbelievable, the pick and roll options, all the different stuff they could do. But it's going to take time to gel, especially with him coming off the injury.
Yeah, are they done now in the Bay Area?
Or who done? Well, they still got 3 roster spots they're going to want to give. They really need wings. They only really got 3 wings because they're guard heavy, and they still got the big man spot, and they don't have any money. They're basically just going to need to go bargain shopping for some veteran minimum wings.
All right, Anthony Slater from The Athletic breaking down how the Warriors were able to get DeMarcus Cousins to the Bay. Thanks so much, Anthony. Read his work on The Athletic. Much more to come on this edition of Free Agent Fever. What's the latest on the Kawhi Leonard rumors? Can the Lakers get him? What about a team in the Eastern Conference? Plus, Summer League is underway. We'll get you a matchup between the 4th pick and the 5th pick of the 2018 draft. Jaren Jackson goes up against Trae Young from Utah.